Welcome back to another episode of Sal and Pals Go to the Movies. This is another Throwback Thursday review, and I'm here with my friend Touly. Say hi, Touly.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're going to be reviewing The Departed. And just a fair warning, there's going to be spoilers up ahead, so you've been warned. An undercover cop and a mole in the police attempt to identify each other while infiltrating an Irish gang in South Boston. My first pro is that this film has big names and they bring the talent to the table. For example, we have Jack Nicholson, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon, Mark Wahlberg, Farrah Farmiga, Martin Sheen, Alec Baldwin, and more. And they all sell their roles and make the movie enjoyable and also worth watching. Plus, the director is Martin Scorsese. You can't go wrong with that. So it's going to be a good story and a good plot. And also, that if it's Martin Scorsese, there's going to be some interesting shots. It's going to be a very nice put together film. Also, this movie has one of the songs at the beginning and at the ending from one of the bands that I enjoy listening to, Dropkick Murphys, the song I'm Shipping Up to Boston. So you hear it at the beginning and you also hear it almost close to the end. That's a very nice Easter egg for me as a fan. I really enjoyed that. Next, the story. It's a very interesting and intriguing that keeps me on the edge of my seat. It's just this story and plot that really holds the movie together and holds my attention. It's a simplistic story about cat and mouse, chasing each other, but it's done in a way that keeps you guessing and also in fear for Leonardo DiCaprio's character. You're waiting to see when they're going to catch him. When is it going to be like he's going to trip over something and expose himself? So that's the interesting factor. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. Also, just to inform you, this movie is a remake from an original movie, and that movie is Infernal Affairs. It is a remake. Yes, Martin Scorsese knew about it after he signed up to be the director for this movie. He did not know that it was based off another movie, and he did not see the other movie until he finished recording this movie. So if you do compare it, there is some similarities, maybe because of the script, but it's not because Martin Scorsese tried to do it on purpose. And maybe we're going to review the other original movie to just compare it and see what is similar and what is different from these two films. This movie is about getting deep into Billy, the character, and feeling his anxiety. Just as a character in the movie, we feel for him. We fear that he's going to get caught. So we're rooting for him and we're basically just right there next to him and we're against the other characters trying to find out who he is. It's just the bottom line. This movie is just a cat and mouse movie, plain and simple. Now, on to my cons. My only con, I would say, is the length of the movie. It's a little long. There could have been some scenes that could have been either shortened or taken out, but the length didn't really bug me, but it just didn't feel that it was worthy of being a 2.5-hour film. I don't even know if there's some people that I would take out of the movie because everybody added their own thing to it. Every character played a part in it. It was like this machine that without one character, it wouldn't flow, right? But I mean, there could have been some scenes that if I really took my time and looked at it, either shorten it or just delete it or take it out, maybe change it a bit around, make it a 2-hour film at most, and I think you would have a perfect movie here. Just the idea that this whole movie just revolves around the cat and mouse, it's what makes this movie seem like it's not that long, but when you actually see how long you spend watching it, you're like, okay, yeah, that's a little too long. Other than that, I don't know what else I can pinpoint about this movie that I didn't really like. So I guess with that, I'm going to pass it on to my friend Touly and see how he saw the movie and what grade he gave the movie.
So I remember the first time I watched this film was when I was still in college, and I think I rented it from Blockbuster, if you guys remember what that was. I believe I also watched it with a friend, and after going through the film, we came out with this sense of enjoyment about what we saw. I think overall, I know I'm jumping ahead here about how I feel about the film in its entirety, but I, for one, really like this film for its execution. Sal already mentioned the star power in this film, so I'm not going to touch too much on that, but the way they portrayed these characters, how I was feeling fearful for Billy, and then Colin, who was played by Matt Damon, the sort of sneaky way he went about doing his business for Costello, and as the movie just progressed, I just felt more and more disdain for Matt Damon's character, which is a good thing. If a movie is able to do that for me and allow me to just buy into it, then I think it has done its job. So yeah, I definitely was feeling concern for Billy, disdain for Colin, and yeah, props to Jack Nicholson for bringing out this boss of a character and made him feel pretty fearful with how he went about handling his business. And then Mark Wahlberg being the tough veteran and the way he treated Billy, which resulted in tension between them, although I felt was not necessary in a sense because, hey, you guys are on the same team. But again, the character that Mark Wahlberg played, that was just how he handled it. So they kind of escaped over that, but it did lead to certain moments between him and Billy, which I liked, and even between him and Matt Damon's character. So I love the interactions between these characters. The pacing was good in the sense that I think Sal alluded to it. I kind of lost track of time, even though the movie was over 2 hours and 30 minutes long. I kind of just lost track of it because I was so engaged as to what will happen next, whether it involved Billy or Colin or Costello, even some of these other players in this movie where they sort of got a spotlight on them, such as Martin Sheen's character. In that scene, the first time I saw it, where his body fell from the sky right in front of Billy, that totally got me. I was like, oh man, okay, I was not expecting that, but to add that to what Billy is already going through, I can only imagine the sort of trauma that he's going to be experiencing after all said is done. So I was on this roller coaster of a ride in terms of like how I was feeling for these characters and how it was going to conclude. And in the end, I was satisfied. The only thing I would say is I wish the final act would have focused more on Billy and Colin, because I felt that that was the setup that the movie was trending towards. It was this final confrontation between these two remaining guys after Costello had died. And again, unfortunately, Martin Sheen's character, who Billy was relying on for assistance throughout his journey of being a mole, I was hoping that the movie would have focused on this interaction between these two guys a little bit more, because the movie had built up to it. But instead, the movie ended kind of quickly. But then within that moment, a lot of things happened. We saw what Matt Damon's character did to these characters. And forgive me for thinking this way, but seeing Anthony Anderson in the sort of serious role that he was playing, I was trying not to laugh at the same time because I know him more for his comedic work. So it was sort of pleasant at the same time seeing him play this sort of role that felt very serious. But yeah, like just all these characters that were involved at the end there at that building on Wash Street, that was crazy. Again, unfortunately, Billy met his demise, but the way it happened, so unexpected. And kudos to Martin Scorsese for the way he shot it, because you would have never thought that would be how Billy went down. The same could be said for the other characters that were in that scene as well. So for all of that to have taken place in that short span of time, it was shocking. I accepted it, but I wish they would have just expanded upon it a little bit more, because again, I thought the final confrontation between Billy and Colin should have had more time invested in it, because I wanted to see how one would outdo the other versus Billy just having the upper hand because he got a hold of the recordings that Costello kept in place. Again, overall, I love the film. I would highly recommend it to people who haven't seen this one. It left a pretty big impression on me. It's one of those films that I could, return to and watch every now and again. So I'm gonna give this film an 8.5 out of 10. I really loved it. And even though the film does appear to be long on paper, because of how engrossed I was in these characters and where their story were heading, I kind of just lost track of time. When a movie's able to do that sort of thing for me, I can come out saying that, hey, it must have done this job if it didn't take me out of it and ever question, hey, why is this movie dragging? I never really thought about that during my first sitting at the film. And in a lot of ways, I still felt that way. But of course, having seen the movie over and over, maybe I can nitpick at certain things now. But again, overall, I really enjoyed what I saw.
I totally agree with you. I felt the same way when I sat down and I got up after the movie. It didn't feel like 2.5 hours had passed. It just basically felt like it was a normal length movie. But yes, that's my only con about the movie. The other thing is ending scene in the elevator where Billy gets shot. That just reminded me of Layered Cake, but I think this movie did it better. I mean, I wasn't expecting it. I'm pretty sure most of the people who watch it are not expecting that scene or what comes after that scene. It's just this whole thing is just people are just dropping like flies and you're like, whoa, what's going on? Okay, let me absorb this, what just happened. Because Billy, the main character that we've been following, he is gone. And you're like, this cannot happen. He was supposed to be the good guy, the guy who survives everything. But at the end, we get another twist and I'm like, that's the payback. So my grade is going to be a 9 out of 10. I highly recommend it, like Touly said. So I guess that does it for this review of The Departed. Please join us next time when we're going to review A Beautiful Mind.
Are they gone?
No, they're not gone. Maybe they never will be. But I've gotten used to ignoring them, and I think as a result, they've kind of given up on me. I think that's what it's like with all our dreams and our nightmares, Martin. Got to keep feeding them for them to stay alive.
Please like, comment, and subscribe. You can find our social media links below. And like always, keep watching movies.